Hello, my name is John Green.
And I'm Albert Blue.
And this is Crash Course. Today we'll be diving into the Songhai Empire. We will be looking at all aspects of the Songhai Empire, politics, economy, religious, social, and geography.
The Songhai Empire spanned over much of West Africa. The Niger River passed through the empire, and there was some great cities located near the river, such as Gao. Most of the empire was in the Sahara Desert. Their environment provided them with a lot of natural resources: gold, ivory, spices, and many more. They were ruled from the 13th century to the 15th century under a monarchy. The land was divided into provinces, and they were ruled by governors who were appointed by their leaders. Because their leaders were Muslim, their laws were based on Muslim ideals, even though the vast majority of civilians were followers of indigenous religions. Their justices were called qadis and were appointed by the leaders. Cases involving violations of religious duties, lawsuits over property, business disputes, and family law were all presented to the qadis. Today, these can be compared to civil law matters. There were a few key leaders in the Songhai that made the empire a world power. Sunni Ali is the most recognized leader. He brought the empire to its peak, expanded commerce, got control of the gold and salt trade, and expanded their land. He was the chief of the army, and his army was powerful and defended their territory effectively. Askia Muhammad was a great leader. He brought the empire to a time of peace and prosperity in the 16th century, but after his death, civil war broke out in the empire. The Moroccans saw that the empire was unstable and would be an easy target, so they went and conquered them, ending the Songhai Empire.
The Songhai Empire enjoyed a great economy and diverse market. They exported many goods such as coconuts, ivory, slaves, spices, palm oils, and most importantly, gold and salt. They would trade these things with neighboring states for cloth, arms, horses, and copper. Their gold industry is what shaped them to be a powerful empire because the need of the African gold was near the height at its time. They also controlled the Niger River region, which allowed them to transport goods and control the exports.
The empire was quite religious. They were a blend of West African beliefs and Muslim ideals. The vast majority of people based their worship off their ancestors, different creation gods, and lesser deities such as war, fertility, and metalworking. The rulers were pretty tolerant of other religions, so they didn't really suffer persecution.
Families in the Songhai Empire were pretty big. In some rural areas, entire families lived together in a compound. Urban areas generally had smaller families and were not as crowded. Men and women were very different from each other in the Songhai Empire. They both did different kinds of work and eat separately. When a man got married to a woman, the woman's allegiance is to her own kin. If husbands were abusive, the wife's brother will intervene. Young men were supposed to be respectful to women. Young women are supposed to be shy around young men. Women in the Songhai Empire lived privileged lives in comparison to the rest of the world at the time and had more positions of power. There were three main social classes in the empire: upper class, consisting of rulers, descendants, and government officials; middle class, consisting of merchants and scholars; and lower class, consisting of citizens and slaves.
The Songhai Empire had unique art. The people loved art and expressed themselves through sculptures, dancing, sports, music, and clothing. They were good at pottery because of the clay their environment provided them. They would make mats and blankets to represent traditional African culture. Handicrafts were made out of bronze and brass. They enjoyed wearing loose-fitting clothing and were fascinated by sports like wrestling. The leaders began to embrace education by building schools, universities, libraries, and mosques. People would study science and math. So what made the empire great and what led to the decline? Some of the things that made the empire great were a centralized government that made it easy to protect at the cost of wide reach. It also had a port to open ocean, not to mention the fact that they controlled the gold and salt trade. Trade makes empires become powerful because they get the resources they need. The women also had more rights, which meant that women had more power, which meant that more ideas could be spread and more people could do work. The empire also had a strong military. They defeated a lot of enemies who would try to invade them. They became the most dominant empire in West Africa, bigger than Mali and the Ghana Empire combined. They had some powerful politicians. They led the nation to greatness, expanded commerce, and the land.
Today we have a very special guest. Joining us is singer-songwriter Dave Skylar.
Hello. The empire declined because they were always full of violence. People were never truly united under the weak leaders, and they went on to civil war. Moroccan forces later invaded and captured the empire, and therefore ending it. They were less technologically advanced compared to competing empires, so they couldn't fight back as effectively if they had better things. They had ineffective leaders after Sunni Ali and Muhammad I died, and they weren't allowed to invade other empires because Islamic law.
Very interesting.
A lot of good points there, Dave. So we're very happy to have you on the show today. And have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, boys.
No issue. Now you might ask, how are the U.S. and the Songhai Empire similar, and how are they different? Well, some of the few ways they were similar was that we both have control over very important trade. We both have a strong military, and we both have some powerful politicians and some weak ones. We also are the biggest country in our region by influence. But sadly, we also both at certain times didn't have full equality. Some of the ways that we were different is that you could argue that the United States is a better government system. There's also the literally undeniable fact that we're more technologically advanced by a long shot, in that, at least nowadays, we have equal opportunity. Do me, John Green, and Albert Blue believe that the United States will fall to a similar fate as the Songhai Empire? No, we don't. We think that it's impossible for us to fail like the Songhai Empire did, because the Songhai Empire did have civil war, but the thing that ended them really was invasion by other countries. For us, we feel like with how divided the United States is becoming, we're more likely to fall in an internal nature as opposed to getting invaded like the Songhai Empire.
I'm John Green,
And I'm Albert Blue.
and this was Crash Course.